Hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation. So, today I'm Maitri and my friend Anita. We're going to talk about our project. Our project is a conference slash workshop on the topic child behavior. So, without further ado, let's get started. First things first, searching for the ideas and reasons for the chosen topic. Well, initially we decided to work on either of the three themes, namely relationships, nutrition, and behaviors. And so, as a team, we decided to do a little bit of individual research based on all these themes and ideas that we had, just to find out what the need really was and how we could help. And so, throughout our research, we both felt that challenging behaviors was something that came up as really important and needed to be addressed. B, we saw a prominent need as more and more children are having these kind of issues. More and more young children are having challenging behaviors that are seen in the CPEs and daycares, and so that's how we decided to work on the topic. That okay, this is something we would like to address, and again, why we chose this idea is purely based on our research. And yeah, next is courses that are linked to the project and how these courses help. I would say starting from child development courses to changing behaviors itself to observation course to profession course to educational program, integration of children with special needs. All the main courses that we studied helped us to form a better understanding on a, what needs to be done, and B, how in the best possible way we could help these children, these families that are under our care. So that's that. And apart from those courses, I would say language courses, especially because English and French, none of the languages are my first language. So that really helped with the translation, and other courses like ethics and yeah, ethics and stuff like that really helped us to form a critical thinking. And yeah, that's how we link it. Linking the educational program with the project. So basically, our whole conference and the information that we're going to share with the educators in the conference is mainly based on the principles of the Quebec's educational program. So starting with each child is unique, we're trying to put our point as each child is unique, well, so are their needs. And so, as an educator, as childcare service providers, we need to understand that when we're dealing with these kind of issues, we have to consider that not every child who may have the same issue, but they're not going to display it in the same way. They're not going to act in the same way, and that's why we need to our interventions also need to be unique, that fits their needs. The child learns through play. Again, we have seen that in the CPEs, in the daycares, when there's a child that has these kind of issues, educators, I wouldn't say that they love to do that, but as per our experiences, both of our experiences, we found that these children, they're somehow um, left to be like apart. They're like off a little bit from the group, and they're left off from the group sometimes just because of their behaviors. But as educators, it is important that we understand that it is the play that is helping them to understand the world around them. And so we're putting a lot of emphasis on all these principles, like the partnership between the educational childcare service and the parents. Well, it is very important, very essential for the harmonious development of the child, because if the parents and if the caregivers are not really on the same page when it comes to interventions, when it comes to handling these behaviors, because we also have to understand that challenging behaviors means challenged children. So it is very important to be on the same page when we're addressing these kind of issues. And again, the child is the main actor in this development. Child development is a holistic and integrated process. All these, we're basing all the information on all these principles that are in the Quebec's educational program. And so, yeah, moving on. Also, we found that the quality of the childcare services and the observation and the process that is explained in the educational program are also very important. And so we are paying a lot of attention to that information that's shared in the book, and we're basing our conference on all these three topics from the educational program. So that's how we linked it. Also, observation is something that we are talking in the conference. So we're going to talk in the conference, and it is a important part of our conference because as educators, observation is something that we learn in school during our studies, but it is a very important component that we might overlook sometimes. That okay, we've done the observation, this is the information, but sometimes we as educators find that okay, we just maybe feel that it's not so much important to pay attention to that, or maybe even if we have done the observations and we feel that it is important, we somehow basically don't link the needs, the behavior with each other. So let's say, for example, there's a child with issues like biting, hitting. Well, it is important to not only observe but interpret information and try to gather as much information. The process of observation, the whole process is very important. We're not just looking at observing process. We're looking as looking at it as what needs to be done and how it needs to be addressed. Basically, that's what we're going to talk about in a conference. And again, the quality of the childcare services, of course, it is very important to provide warm, welcoming, and positive environment, no matter what the child is having in terms of his challenging behaviors. But we have to address it. And in so the best that was way. Basically it for my part, and now my friend Anita will continue. Thank you.
So we're going to talk about the needs of the CPE. So Mitri and I came up with general questions that we want to ask the educators and directors. Based on their answers, we came up with a list of common needs that we've seen in their answers. So what we have seen is that educators want to have more resources available for parents, educators, and directors. There's also an increase for children with autism, language delays, attachment issues, hitting and biting. So based on the list of common needs, we have chosen several topics that we want to use in our conference. So some of them are observation, support for the educators in the classroom, and more resources available for parents, educators, and parents. So it is important to look at what will the project look like in winter 2022. So the conference will last for 2 hours. The target audience will be educators, and Matri and I will call English CPEs and bilingual CPEs. The type of conference will be a combination of lecture and interactive. Interactive is going to be educators will present. Well, educators will this Matri and I will present a scenario to the educators, and then from there, the educators will think of different solutions or ideas that corresponds to the scenario. So for example, like we're going to talk about the scenario will talk about biting. What do you do when a child bites in your classroom? So the educators will think of different ideas and solutions of how to approach this scenario. So how we're going to approach the CPE. Mitri and I we're actually going to call the director of the CPE, And we're just going to explain what is the project about, what is the purpose of the project, why did we choose it. Then from there, we're going to send a flyer to the director explaining further details what is the project about. If the director likes the idea of having the conference in her CPE, the director will actually email the flyer the to the educators. If not, you could just print it out and put it on the wall in the classroom. So the venue. So the conference will be located in the CPE. It's going to be held in the gross motor room or multi-purpose room, and the conference will actually be pizza party. And in this conference, there's going to be refreshments for educators. They're going to be refreshments for the educators. So there's going to be different subjects that we're going to talk about in the conference. So some of the topics are observation, assessment, communicating the observations to the parents, how to do an intervention plan, how to do early detection in the CPEs. So we do have a backup plan. The backup plan will be done online, so the conference will be done virtually. It could be done on Microsoft Teams, Zooms, or Skype. And as well, same thing, it's a combination of lecture and interactive. And we do have a lot of strengths in this project, but the main one that stood out the most is how students can get information quickly for the preliminary research. So what I mean by that is that for me, I had the opportunity of going to I was working 4 days, and I had the opportunity to talk about my project to the educators and to the director and ask the general questions about the project. Also, for the weaknesses, it was a little bit harder for us to get the weaknesses because we tried figuring out what kind of weaknesses that we have in our project. The only weakness that we have in our project is actually based on how CPs are hesitant to communicate with us about the project. We tried calling them, but there was no answer. But when we did have the chance to call them, they wouldn't allow us to go into the CPE and talk about the general and ask them the general questions about the project. So the only improvement we could think of is to ask the general questions online, to do it virtually. So this could be done on Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Skype, depending on what the director is comfortable with. So there are many different and innovative facts that we have seen in this project, but the three main ones that stood out the most for Matri and I was how this project can address the current issues that we see in CPEs today, and also it gives educators the tools to implement in their classroom when they have a child that has special needs or a child with a challenging behavior. Also, the last innovative and different fact that makes this project so unique is this project can be accessible for all CPEs in Quebec and not just in Montreal. So this being said, this conference could be accessed virtually online. So here are the images that we see potentially applying for next semester refreshments, educators listening to us, learning about different subjects. And then, so I would like to thank you for listening to our presentation. I would like to thank you for listening to our presentation. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to ask. Thank you very much.